Leonie Dawson. Do I have to say anything more? Get ready for a wild ride. Leonie and I chatted about her discovery and exploration process of finding what works best for her in her business and in life. I loved how she shared about her relationship with social media and her willingness to try new things. Leonie is such a delight, and I encourage you to go get yourself a cuppa and then come sit down and listen to this entire podcast. Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles from me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become masterful at energy work, and live life based on your design, your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. This podcast series is part of a 13-day challenge called Stellar Transformational Act of Reverence, otherwise known as STAR, hosted inside of our Devoted Discord. In each episode, I will randomly announce a keyword that you can use to earn points and win amazing prizes during the challenge. Stay tuned until the end of the episode for more information. Leonie Dawson is an internationally best-selling author of her yearly goal planner workbooks, which have helped over 400,000 people worldwide set and achieve their life and business goals. Leonie has generated over $10 million in revenue while only working 10 hours a week. She spends her time dreaming big dreams, painting everything in sight with her 2 daughters, perving on her husband, and reading 400 books a year. Leonie is a passionate philanthropist. She is in the top 1% of Kiva lenders worldwide, has donated over $40,000 to a Kenyan children's organization, has built a library in Vietnam, and helped build a 6-room school in Ghana, among other projects. Leonie is the winner of Us Mompreneurs Global Brand Award, Businesses Making a Difference Award, and People's Choice Business Coach. She currently lives on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. Hey there, Leonie. It's good to have you.
Oh, sorry, you're a babe. I'm so delighted to be here.
Okay, so we had already stated that we should have pressed record like 10 minutes ago because as soon as we got on, we had so much to talk about. So before we do, I want to share with you and gift you how long I've now known you and known of you, right? So, oh gosh, I don't even know how long it's been. 8 years, 9 years. I've been a full-time teacher abroad. I moved back from Thailand. I was partying too much in Thailand after some trauma that happened, like all this stuff, and I returned. And I started working as a teacher, but I was in a relationship with a co-teacher where I was being bullied. And I thought, all right, universe, you know what? I know I'm done. Like this phase in my life is done. I must move on. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to go out there on my own and start a business. And then I thought, oh crap, how do I actually do that? And I have no idea. But for some reason, I came across you and I came across the fact that you had calendars and then you had a workbook and you had all of these different things that I think first was around life and I was addicted to it. And then it was life and business. So every year I would purchase it. And I would print it and I would go through it. And I didn't fill out everything because I'm not really a journaler, but it inspired me every year to like continue with my reflections. So that's how I know you.
Oh, that thrills my heart, Sora. I'm so glad that we have had this friendship for so long and I'm only just awakening to it now. It's like, oh, great. This is a long-term thing. This is awesome.
Absolutely. And isn't it great? Because I wasn't necessarily like I'm a fan and I'm like a back in the like towards the back kind of fan. Like I'm not one to like come forward and do all the things and stalk you or anything
You
like
should,
that.
though. You should have. But no, you do you. You do you, boo.
Exactly. So, yeah. So tell me a little bit about what does Leonie do at 6 o'clock in the morning prior to a podcast?
Oh, she's asleep. And then, like, like 10 minutes before a podcast is due to be recorded, I just kind of throw myself out of bed and run, just pick up like the least smelly thing off the floor and put that on. And then turn up here and I look fucking radiant.
But that's what I mean. You look radiant and you look really centered. Like you don't seem tired at all.
No. Well, I mean, I do sleep an inordinate amount of time, so I'm glamorous.
What's your bedtime?
Oh, so, okay. It's different at the moment. It's 6:30 at night. I don't go to sleep at 6:30, but we go to bed at 6:30 purely because we have an elderly dog who now gets up like 4 times a night. And my husband is caretaking her because he is a saint. And so he's basically look after a newborn. So we all kind of head off to bed at 6:30. My kids kind of play in our bedroom. My husband starts falling off to sleep. And the kids play till about 7:30. Then they kind of fall asleep as well. And then I read for an hour or two. And so I'll probably be asleep by 9:30.
That's pretty good. Because honestly, I start going to bed at about 8, 8:30. Granted, I
Yeah.
wake up at about 4. So 5. I can't help it.
Well,
I don't know what's going on with me.
really? What is life like at that hour?
It is peaceful. It's when I get my most, it's when I get my writing done or the most random things that I actually have headspace for. Because by the time 2, 3 o'clock rolls along and you ask me to do anything when it comes to like admin or brainy, I'm really just not functioning.
You're like, mm-mm. Brain says no.
Yeah, brain says no. All right, so I want to know more about you. So let's talk a little bit about Leonie when she was little.
Ooh.
And I'd love for you to share a story about either how brainy you were or how not brainy you were.
Ooh. Um,
And it doesn't mean that
I
you
was
were
both.
one or the other. Exactly. I
was
just mean like,
both.
okay, cool.
Yeah, I was both. And so much so that my mum would just always lament, like, oh, Leonie, you're just so sensitive. You're off on your own planet. Like, you are never going to cut it in the real world. Like, bless her, she was very encouraging as well. But she very much feared for my personal safety and for what was going to happen. And bless her, so I am one of 5 kids. My eldest brother had cerebral palsy, and she said parenting me was the most challenging.
I'm not surprised.
Bless her. Bless her. So, just a lot of patience. And even when she was teaching me how to drive, thank God we lived in the country because I would lose all train of thought, and Mum said, like, she would call it like away with the fairy moment. I would be distracted by how the light was filtering through the sugar cane, and the car would just kind of veer off the road, and Mum would go, whoop, and then just gently push it back onto the road. Leonie, okay, attention on the road. And knowing now that I have autism and ADHD, of course that was going to be a complete disaster. But I got there in the end, and I'm like, I've never had a car accident. So, yay, team us. Yay, team
Right?
us.
And F you to people who thought otherwise, right? Like,
Well, I don't know if it's FU. It's more like I completely see like why you would have reached that conclusion and that fear, because that's really understandable, like especially compared to my actions and my behavior. But just a miraculous luck. It's just miraculous luck, really, that things turned out quite well.
absolutely. Do you find that, tell me a little bit about your creativity. Was that something that when you were young, you always were creative and artistic and worked with your hands? Or was that something that happened a little later?
Oh, it was a always thing. And I think at kindergarten, I remember like I really wanted, like when I grew up, I wanted to do 3 things. I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to change the world. Um, and so I was very clear about that mission, and very clear that creativity and art and writing was, the absolute pinnacle of life. So I spent, most of my time in creative pursuits.
I think the changing the world feels really meaningful in also your creative pursuits, right? So you have these creative ways, and yet I don't know. I would love to know as a younger child too how you changed the world, but I know now you change the world. You change it through your philanthropic ways, through the ways in which you provide others regarding courses and your blog and your time and so many different things. Can you tell me what it means to change the world and how you're passionate in doing it?
Mm. So, at a really young age, I was very clear that other people were suffering and that I wasn't necessarily suffering in the same ways. Um, and that I could see beauty where others couldn't, and I could find joy very easily, and self love was my birthright. It didn't occur to me to do anything else. And so when I saw people kind of sad or lost or disillusioned or wondering, just not full of this joy, I felt like it was my duty to create something to help them see that beauty again and to remind them of that love. So whether I could do a painting or make something or write something that would remind them of how precious this world is and precious this life is, then I would, feel like I was on the right track.
You would have been such a good friend if we were friends when I was younger, because I find I did have joy, but I always felt like since I could see my own experience being so hard at times, that it took a lot of effort to pretend that I was in a place of happiness and joy and then ultimately get there. But my lens was always through this place of hesitation in this world and not knowing exactly where I fit in. But I never had that freedom until later in life to be like, no, I can claim my joy. I can claim my space. I can claim everything that I desire in this world. And to have someone like you there to kind of model that from any age would have been really miraculous.
Oh, bless you. It would have been beautiful. And like, I do want to recognize the fact that I also would have been a really shit friend because I have autism. And so I did not know how to talk to people until I was maybe 11 or so. I was trying very hard, but I just didn't understand how humans worked. And it took a long while to work that out. And even now I kind of am very conscious about how to be a good friend. And I have friends that are very, very good friends. And I like to kind of just like take note in the corner of what they do. Oh, they have everyone's birthdays in a calendar and they send cards a month in advance. I shall do that. That is how to be a good friend.
Leonie, you know what? I think about that too, because I used to think I was an awful friend. And it was purely because I work friendships differently, though. So,
Okay.
like yourself, I don't remember birthdays. I'm not a gift giver. Like, I have to make a conscious reminder to myself of that. And I like that one on one juicy connections, but I don't need it all the time. So I forget. I have to be, again, like very mindful to be like, I haven't spoken to that friend. I should probably go and like give them a call or text them. And I used to feel a lot of shame for not
Yeah.
being a quote good friend until I thought, okay, what if I just showed up as me and we had a conversation of agreements. And if I was like, okay, you know what, Leonie, that's what you need. I will try my hardest to do that for you. And vice versa. Here are some things that I would need in friendship, just like in partnership. And I
That's
think it
beautiful.
doesn't necessarily have to all be cookie cutter in the approach. So I think you
That's
would have
very
been a
true.
good friend because I like friends who are quiet and we would just do our own thing together.
Solid. I would have nailed that then. As long as you don't require like much eye contact or like
Nope.
meaningful talkie, and we can only talk about the things that I'm interested in, we're sorted.
Or maybe we could have also talked at each other with certain things. I wasn't much of a talker, so I would have listened.
Yeah, okay. And then, I'll get distracted by shiny things and we're cool.
Absolutely. I still get distracted by shiny things. I can barely walk straight. So usually
Same.
Eric will hold my hand because I'll like kind of fall sometimes. times.
My husband's like, okay, Leonie, you're about to leave the house. Could we make an effort for you to not get injured this time? Like, could you make an effort to take a little bit more, like, personal safety? Have a think about it. Because, yes, I do injure myself amazingly well on a regular occurrence.
Bless. Tell us a little bit about your partnership. Like, what is that
Oh,
like? What is the dynamic?
he's scrumptious. He is absolutely scrumptious. We have been together for 20 years this month.
Congrats.
Thank you. I was 18 when I met him, and an absolute kind of mess of a human, as was he. And we have sculpted ourselves into a life because we were just so committed to wanting to have a romance for the rest of our lives, and so fixated on making that happen. And so we argued and we disagreed, and we really had to kind of grind away the hard parts of ourselves in order to become good partners for each other. We had a relationship counselor at one point, which was life-changing, and I'm still so grateful to that. Just doing those few months, it was amazing. And once you've been with somebody for a very long time, 20 years? Once you've been with someone for 20 years.
It is a long time.
Okay, right. I was just spending time with relatives who've been together for 55 years, and I was like, we're babies.
Effective.
Yeah. Once you've been together, you have gone through some major life shit together, and you've also seen each other, in the vows, like in sickness and in health, in like when you're fucked up or when you're joyful. And it has been one of the greatest blessings of my life that he's extended me so much grace. And it's also been one of the best things of my life to discover how to give that grace as well.
Yeah. It seems like you two have a very intentional way of working together, and that you're committed to figuring out those ways as you continue to evolve, right? As you grow older, grow in general, like things will shift. So that gives me much hope. 20 years, amazing. I
Yeah,
did get married later in life. So I did not know my husband at 18. I knew him at like 40. So a little earlier than that, but still around that time.
At least you sometimes I think was it a great idea to have met at 18 because we had so much growing to do together? It might best have been done apart, but it is what it is, timing happens when timing happens.
Absolutely. So did both of you desire to travel around and find different places to live and experience life all over before you now settled to where you are? Not meaning that you're settled forever, but just for now.
No, it was never our intention to do that. Neither of our intentions, but we'd go to the next place and then be like, oh, this chair does not fit either. Oh.
Yes.
So we tried, and we in retrospect, we feel so lucky that we got to experience so much, so many places around Australia. But it was never let's spend the next 10 years living in a lot of different places.
Was it always mutual, or was it sometimes you loved it, he was like, no, it doesn't fit, and vice versa?
Oh, no, it's there's been points where it hasn't been mutual, agreements, but we will do things for each other.
Right, of course. I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you lived up north and there were crocodiles, was that something that your husband was like, yes, me and crocodiles, we are friends, let's stay?
It was it was more the north. The more further north you get, it's more the more south you get in America. It becomes much more intense in terms of the environment and the humidity and the culture. And we were just a little bit concerned about the drug use in that community, basically. And there was a lot of marijuana, and it's not legal in Australia. And my husband and I are very like teetotalers, or whatever the fuck you call it. We just don't mess with that because we don't want to mess with our brain chemistry. And methamphetamine was on the rise quite significantly there, which was difficult to see. And we were just like, if it had just been us, we probably could have worked it out. But because we had small children, we were like, how are we going to navigate them going through their teen years in an environment that is, full of illicit drugs and not necessarily like our lifestyle, and our values and ethics, basically.
Yeah. Talking about values, I was thinking about this. So you poured, it seems like, so much of your creativity love into your work that then became this business that then started to grow and grow. And I don't know if it became to a point where you were like, what is happening and how is this growing to what it's growing? So did you already feel deeply connected with your values and your beliefs, so much so that it didn't feel like it was running ahead of you? Or did you have to come to a place of reevaluation at times?
I've never really seen growing a business as out of value with my ethics. The only time that became apparent is when I hired a really large team. So I had 20, 25 staff at one point, and discovered, actually, I really hate managing people.
Good to know.
This is really bad. And it was creating, so much drama that I wasn't used to, because, people are humans and they have meltdowns, they have crises. And when you have, a large number, like 20, it's basically continuous. The next person will pop up, having their next crisis. And so as a manager and an owner of a business, you're basically just putting out fires. And I was like, I wasn't born to put out fires, and I don't understand humans, and all I want to do is be left alone in an office to create. That's what I'm supposed to be here for.
Yes.
And my husband and I were spending so much time fighting fires in the business, and I kind of feel I have, some kinds of regrets about the fact that, my youngest was a toddler and a baby at that time, and I didn't get to spend anywhere near as much time as I would have if I wasn't fighting fires. So I was actually working more hours when I had a lot of staff, not less, because it's so much more work. So that was outside of my values and ethics, and that's when I had to go no, I need to change here. I need to have a simplified business that doesn't drive me nuts and make me want to run away from it on a daily business. Daily basis.
I think that's a great way to be devoted to you, to remember what that means, and such a great permission for everyone to realize. Often I hear lots of people who are in the entrepreneurial world or in the coaching industry being like, I want to have a successful, thriving business. And I say, great, what does that mean for you though? Right? What would bring you a lot of joy? And would having 25 people where you're no longer actually doing the work of whatever you're passionate about, but actually managing, is that something that you really want to do? For some, leadership, yeah, they do. But others, I don't think they realize that you're taking away from the thing that you may really, really love. And for you, I couldn't ever consider Leonie without your creativity. I want more of that than anything else.
Same, boo. Same. It was untenable, really. And I think as well, because I am so ambitious in so many ways, I had to explore that option. I had to know what it felt like to run an empire of people, and discover oh, no, that's actually not for me. And bless my accountant and business advisor has, helped businesses for 30 odd years now. And he said, Leonie, there's only one way that you could have discovered this. There's only one way that you would have found this out. And everybody goes through it. They go through a major growth phase, and then you either have to outsource and work with another company to provide some skills. You have to change your business model, or you have to, insource by hiring a lot of staff. And there's only one way that you're really going to find out what works for you.
Yeah. What delights you right now? Is it around business? Is it around other things? What delights you?
I think this year I started doing this thing where I give myself 21-day challenges to try out things that I've always wanted to try out. And was too scared to implement as an actual like habit, because I was like, if I say you have to do this for the rest of your life, Leonie, part of me is going to be like, no, that's a really bad idea. But 21 days I can totally do. So I've got a list of things that I want to try out, and I'm kind of like documenting and blogging it as I go along. And It's been life-changing. Yeah, it's been life-changing.
So what are you currently doing for 21 days?
21 days.
Or can you share?
Sure, yes. So I just finished 21 days of meditation. I've also finished 21 days of no smartphone use, and before that 21 days of no social media, which is amazing. I gave up social media completely because it was life-changing. And now I am about to embark on 21 days of making comics.
Fun!
Yeah.
Do you already have your comic ideas of your characters, or no, nothing yet?
No clue. And it's not even going to be like a comic, like it's in a novel. It'll be more just like a graphic novel, graphic memoir, graphic something. I don't know yet. I'll discover it as I go.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. Okay, let's talk about, I get the social media, and also kudos to you not being on it anymore. Like, that must have been so freaking freeing. But no smartphone use. So did you have a phone at all?
I did, and I made it into a stupid phone.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The only thing for me would be the map. So I would just need to get like a GPS thingy, but besides that, that's amazing.
Well, I just all I did was I still need the map. So I just kept the map there, and it was just like map, and I could still phone or text. Yeah, just took everything off. And then my husband at one point grabbed it, and he's like, there's not even a browser on here. I can't even access the internet. What if I need to search something? And I was like, you'll have to reinstall it and delete it.
That was so good. So how was the first 48 hours of that experience?
It was terrifying. I was like, what am I missing on social media? That was the most terrifying part for me. But everything else is and then I was like, oh, wait, I've got my life back. I've got my attention span back. I've got my hobbies back. I can do all the things. I have so much time now. So I've just invented crazy projects ever since. And it's been the world's greatest fun. I feel like my life has returned to me and my brain has healed. It's beyond cool.
That's a really important thing. Your brain is healed. That's a big deal to say.
It's massive. And especially when you look at just how much your brain is damaged from smartphone use and social media use. And to recognize the fact that this is very young technology. Smartphones only came about in the last 10 years, smartphones about the same time. And as humans, we have, hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. What we do know from the research projects that have come out is that that use contributes to a whole range of glorious things, including the fact that it stops our working memory in terms of our short-term memory. We can no longer remember what just happened. And not just that, it actually scrambles a long-term memory. So it's actually stealing our memories of a life. And of course, it makes you more depressed, less self-worth, hyperactive, unable to focus on things, unable to learn new concepts. It just really limits your capacity to be a creative and productive human and a happy human in the world. So I thought, this sucks. No.
Absolutely. And I believe in all of that because I noticed it for myself. And yeah, of course you can have the phone and it shows you how long you've been on it, but you still disassociate from that aspect, right? And one of the things that I've been trying to come to an understanding with is, for example, right now, who knows when this will be out, but right now there's a lot of, there's just a lot going on for us Asian Americans, right? Or just AAPIs all over. And part of me wants to know what's happening, and the major news outlets really don't cover much of it. So the only place where I can get those actual day-to-day understanding from just community members is through, let's say, socials. At the same time of me wanting to educate myself and not bypass the situation, I'm also now internalizing the fear, right? So I can feel my emotions heighten. I like worry about going outside, like wondering what's going to happen. So I see how that affects me. So where is that balance between the two when there isn't like a newspaper you can pick up? Right. So
Yeah.
that's my inquiry. Not that there's an answer, but that's where I'm like, ooh, what do I do with that? You know?
There might be an answer to this.
Oh, please do.
Okay, so a lot of people, so the concept is called digital minimalism by Cal Newport. And so there's a lot of people who kind of craft this like, okay, I need this specific information about this specific topic, but I don't want to like then sign myself up for something that sucks all of my time.
Yes.
Right? So there are a whole bunch of ways and tools that you can use in order to get the aim that you want and the nutrients that you want without like exposing yourself to having to do 2.5 hours of social media use a day, which is on average what Americans do.
Right.
So one thing that you could potentially do is use something like Feedly, Feedly, and it's like an RSS aggregator, but it's also something that you can use to keep on top of trending topics from a variety of sources. And so you could look for AAPI and like anti-racist topics, and you would see like some of the best on the market for that day, basically. So a lot of people kind of tend to use that in order to curate their news sources. And even when like you can find it on social media as well. Feedly scans all of that and finds kind of the best of it.
Ooh, I love that. Thank you so much for that. That gives me I already had chills as if that was a big solution to a big question that I had.
Of course. And like I was concerned the same way, like leaving social media, because it is such an amazing way to keep on top of anti-racist and, kind of social justice work that isn't necessarily happening in other areas. And so I kind of had to build in workarounds to ensure that I still get to learn about really important topics without it necessarily having to take 2.5 hours of my day every day trying to sort through all the shit to find the pearls.
Absolutely. So now that you have more time, you're not spending more time. Well, no, that's not the question. How are you spending all of your time now?
In more creative pursuits, more just crazy like side projects. And so it just makes me laugh, like I was trying to work out like something like, how many blog posts have I written on what topic? And then I think, I could do a spreadsheet of that and I could color code it.
Oh my gosh, Leonie, you're like a person for my heart. I love spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets make sense of life, babes, don't they? They're like
I don't
therapy.
necessarily love the upkeep of that, but I love creating them.
I make them so pretty and thematic and then I like the little charts and everything. It just makes me feel really in control of like my life, that kind of stuff. So, and then of course, like I'll share said spreadsheets with my newsletter lists and stuff like that, and people are just riveted by that amount of like like anal retentiveness and cataloging.
Absolutely. Okay, because my question at first that felt not aligned was, does that mean you spend more time, quote, on work? But I too agree. I come from a place where anything that brings me joy is work, meaning like it's what I love to share with my community. I don't think of it like as, oh my gosh, I have to do X, Y, and Z in order to get to X, Y, and Z. And so it seems like for you too, your creative outlets are for personal, but also you love sharing with your community. So often it's whatever you're working on that you have more time that you're also feeding into people who are loving your work.
Yeah, just like whoever's like wants to know, like, oh, what's Leonie thinking about today? Oh, that's what's Leonie thinking about today in great detail. You can get the newsletter for it.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
Keyword, love. Love.
So tell us, I just kind of want to demystify this idea that When it comes to wealth, so I talk about wealth because for me, it's about wealth meaning well being. That
Mm,
honestly, it's not about all the money that you make only, but if you are going to create all that money, what are you going to do with it? How are
mm,
you going to support yourself and your family? What legacy are you going to leave? And are you going to ensure that you aren't fatigued? Like you're going to just kind of keel on over because you've worked so hard without managing your own internal system. And so we talk a lot about that. And so for you, knowing that you have created a lot of wealth financially as well as just living an abundant life, what would
mm,
you share with those that are like, I would love to create a prosperous life, one that feeds the earth? What would you
mm.
share? How can they do that?
Oh, there are like, here's the thing, like when you have no money, you don't necessarily like, you're not necessarily helping the earth be more, you know, more abundant and
Yes.
heal. So now that I actually have money, I can do really cool shit with it. So um, last year we donated $25,000 to Australian Wildlife Conservancy, which are the largest private landholder here in Australia. So, yeah.
Yes.
And they buy up land, which is like enormously important habitat and ecology. And I think that's a really important part of the fight against the climate crisis is having protected like bits of land. So we could do that. And then we also moved all of our investments into ethical managed funds as well. So we divested out of like, you know, all of our shares in our superannuation retirement funds and all that kind of stuff. We're no longer, you know, accidentally investing in gambling and mining and,
Right.
you know, things that are unsustainable, tobacco, warfare, all that kind of stuff. And instead, it's invested in things that make an enormous difference in building a sustainable future. So we're looking at like green electricity, and they make sure that they're investing in women and BIPOC-owned businesses and really try to change the investment balance. And that for me is very, very exciting because it's increasingly difficult for mining companies to get funding now.
Yay.
And it also makes great financial sense because BlackRock, which is the world's largest fund manager, actually pulled out of funding mining endeavors the start of last year because they say it's an unsustainable future. It has an end, and we need to be investing in the future and solutions instead. So I get really excited about investing in ethical managed funds and ethical shares.
And you seem really excited and knowledgeable, meaning like you have now taken this deep understanding of your values and you have learned other areas within life where you can use your money to fund and to invest and to support others in those areas. So to
It's
me,
the
when you
coolest.
have no money, you aren't thinking about the access of other areas to be knowledgeable in, right? Because it's just not part of your awareness. So it's so exciting to be able to gather money so that you can then enter into these other fields rather than saying, oh, I'm not good with it, I don't know enough. You actually are giving yourself permission and opportunity to learn more because all you have to do is it's just knowledge that you haven't accumulated yet.
Completely. And I didn't even know what managed funds were like 18 months ago. I didn't, what does managed fund mean? And it's just like, you know, I just read more stuff and then I go, oh, that sounds cool. And then I do stuff and then I'm like, oh, and then that does that. Wow, that's very exciting. Ho, ho, ho. And I mean, I used to be completely shit with money. Like in my early 20s, we were just living paycheck to paycheck. And it was just when we decided like, oh, we need to do something about this and take responsibility for it and get an education about money, that we read a book together, Barefoot Investor by Scott Pape, which is now, you know, a huge, like
Huge.
huge. But I read it back in the olden days when he was like young and single and like barefoot, literally barefoot. Um, and it made a massive difference to us. Like, oh, we just need to start taking a little bit of responsibility, a little bit of intentionality, a little bit of mindfulness, and it can make absolutely massive differences.
Yeah. One thing at a time, then, which I think is just a really important message to remember, right? Myself and everyone listening. Just if there's something that you're interested in, just one thing at a time, learn a little bit at a time, and you're going to get there. like where you were 18 months ago then, and now like it seems like you're an expert.
I know. I do. I feel so legit.
You do. Goodness. Any writing projects these days?
Well, I write every day anyway. So I have my daily-ish newsletter list, and then I have a weekly-ish newsletter list. So the daily-ish is for people who like want to hear every single thought I've ever had, and they're like, yes, more. And then the weekly-ish is for like my best of, more important topics and more well-rounded, thought-out topics. So I'm constantly producing now, and I just find not having social media is such a great way to not be distracted and to also bring my best work to the world, because I'm not a great short form writer. It's not my jam. So social media like limitations on writing just really harshed my mellow, and I hated writing for it. But give me like a wide open page and the capacity to write 6,000 words if I damn well want, and I shall take that.
You're going to rock it.
Damn. Nail that shit.
You know, I used to think that I wasn't a great writer, but I never understood Instagram. And then I finally started to get a bit more comfortable, and I thought, okay, small amount of writing, I can do that. And now something changed. My birthday was last month, and all of a sudden there was this shift that happened, and I started to consider writing a different way. And I believe that I might have found my voice now in the way I write, because it's the way I speak inside my head, and I never considered taking what I hear inside of here and actually just kind of putting it out on paper. And now I'm like, I look at Instagram like, I don't know what to do with this anymore. Like I'm not even sure, because all I want to do is write that weekly newsletter just because I'm enjoying the storytelling of it. And so I get that now. I get it.
Do it. And here's the thing, like my audience, since I've started like going back to just writing for them and sending it directly to them, no social media, like my audience has there's so much more connectivity, and people feel so much more heard and resonant. And like with social media, like you kind of, it's like yelling into the void and then hoping that people are getting it, and then people will write a comment like, haha, great. And you're like, wow, I feel so connected to you right now. Whereas now, like people will email me back these long letters, and it's just the most beautiful and thoughtful thing under the sun. It's like having pen pals all around the world. So honestly, just share your beautiful writing in the way that it feels great to you, and it will connect with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, goodness. All right. So I'm going to do some like rapid fire questions, see what comes up for you. Okay. All right.
Okay,
so these are a couple.
Wait. Buckled in.
Love it. Okay. So these are a series of questions that recently came up where I just started to get obsessed with. So let's see. All right.
Yes.
So the first one is, if you were to merge a TV show with a song that exemplifies who you are, what would that be?
It would be the UK TV show called Miranda, who stars Miranda Hart. If you haven't watched it, you need to go watch that right now.
I will.
And that conjoined with Walking on Sunshine. That's me.
Yes, totally. Oh, okay. If you were a dessert, what would that be?
Oh.
And you can mesh things.
Yeah, I think like just an enormous lemon meringue pie, because like the fluffy and the sweetness of it, and just the enormous glorious monstrosity of it. It's just a very over the top kind of dessert, when they like really put the shit on top and then like burn it. It just looks fantastic. And you're just eating like air and egg and sugar. It's the greatest. And then combine that with just the tartness of the lemon, because I am a blunt motherfucker.
So good. And in some ways, I think at first when they see the visual of your stuff, right, it has that big, fluffy, like unicorn, blue, all that stuff, magical. And then they get to like really feel the intense, savory, amazing, like tart, like sassiness of you afterwards. It's really good.
That's good. That's a beautiful. Yes, I am a lemon meringue.
Own it. If I can, I will ship you a lemon meringue. Just let me know if you have any specific, like, food aversions.
My food aversions is like I prefer my food with gluten. Like gluten makes everything delicious. You know
Just
what I mean?
making
Like,
sure, everyone has their preference now. So.
They do. They totally do. And I get it. And like I'm sure me being gluten-free would be a healthier lifestyle. But look, if I love some gluten.
Great. Gluten, sugar, you're all in.
I'm all in.
Good to know. Good to know.
Why would I give up the manna of life, It's just the succulence. Like I've thought about quitting sugar.
It is love.
I've thought about quitting sugar and I'm like, why would I? Like, it went, ew.
Maybe you could do it for 21 days.
Shut up. Who asked you?
If you do it, I want you to text me every day, cursing me out. Yes. I will love it. I'm a New Yorker, by the way, so I love sassy and I love, so you will not offend me.
Awesome. Well, even if I do, like, I'll just carry on. I offend people all the time. Just carry on.
Anyway, do it, and I want a stream of curses my way every day. I will thoroughly enjoy it.
These 21-day challenges are supposed to be fun, Sora.
It'll be fun for me.
Fun, like things I've always wanted to do. Not just like,
it's fun for you, but it'll be fun for me. Come on.
We'll make it, 21-day challenge.
Okay, what does devoted mean to you?
No, but I just love you. What does devoted mean? I think just remembering that you're fucking scrumptious, that you were born to be exactly who you are, and that there's not one cell out of place. And when you like really jam with the truth of that and realize, like, feel it in your bones, because it's the truth of it. Do you really think you were made to second guess yourself the rest of your life and wish that you were something that you're not? Like, ew. Animals aren't doing that. And we're an animal. So, like, clearly it is a construct of the patriarchy, of capitalism, of white supremacy that we would ever, like, consider ourselves less than. And you know what I say to all those things? Like, fuck off, fuck you, get out of my life. Like, I will enjoy this miraculous gift for what it is. And when you get to do that and you just go, you know what, fucking brilliant, and I'm just going to do things I really love doing, life is a piece of cake, honestly. It's so fucking great and it's so fucking joyful, and you get to live life in a very devoted way to yourself and to, the things that you adore the most.
Out of all of that, I love the fact that you said cake. It is. Life is a cake, and we get to have cake. And so that is wonderful. Yes, you are all scrumptious, and let us all have more cake. Shall be much more enjoy. Who is your current teacher? And that could be anyone, but who's like really just teaching you things these days?
Honestly, my husband just continues to surprise me. It's like being married to Zeus. I just think,
dang,
who are you? How did that come out your mouth? Where did that come from? And then also one of my dearest friends who I, kind of text with every day, I think the thing that she just teaches me again and again is just like how freeing empathy and compassion are. And, when I come to her and I'll be like, everything sucks. And she goes, oh, darling, of course you feel that way. Of course. Everything sucks. Burn it to the ground. And when you have that level of empathy, it kind of brings your brain back online and you go, oh, okay, yeah. No, everything's okay. Like I can work this out. I've got this. But you sort of can't get to it if somebody goes, well, you shouldn't be thinking like that. What you should be doing is this or this or this. Because then you're just like, fuck you, I'm allowed to have my feelings and don't tell me what to do. But when you're just met with empathy and compassion of like, oh, of course you feel that way, it gives you this kind of freedom to evolve and grow past it.
Yeah, and it lets you get to feel it, right? Like you don't have to do, you could actually be real and say, this is how I'm feeling, knowing that that person isn't going to try and change it. So what an amazing friend.
Yeah, she's the coolest.
Okay, so one last question. You may or may not be watching television. So if you are you binge watching any shows? And if so, what is it?
Oh, I'm not really watching TV at the moment, just because of our 6:30 bedtime currently.
Oh, right.
Yes. However, there are shows that I do binge watch. The first one is Alone, which is this kooky, amazing reality show, which sounds completely not up my alley, but it's 100% up my alley. And people are sent to remote locations to live by themselves on the land. And, they only have like 10 tools with them and they have to make their own shelter and they have to hunt their own food. They have to and keep themselves alive for as long as possible without any human contact. And it is the most beautiful, meditation on nature and how humans have been so innovative to be able to survive this long. And also the psychology of what it takes to truly be alone and to be in solitude and how to work through that. It is amazing. So I would start with Alone season 3 onwards because they've kind of perfected it by then and the cinematography is beautiful and
cinematography
amazing.
Gets me all the time.
And there's no voiceover of somebody annoying going,
thank
"Then
goodness.
what happened?" It's a very quiet show and there's no interpersonal drama because people are just by themselves.
That's amazing. And how inspiring, right? Like the innovation, how one survives, what it takes mentally, physically, the environment, like all of it together. And it's quiet. That's really great. We need more of that.
Please watch it. Start watching season 3 onwards and then let me know what you think. It's scrumptious. And of course, like every other basic bitch out there, I have been into Bridgerton.
Yes.
I am just really hoping that they have some LGBTQIA plus relationships, main relationships develop. I really want the next sister. I just think she'd be an amazing queer person. And so would the brother, Benedict. Yes, the second brother. That would be amazing. And the queer people. Yes, I want this. But it's also just very decadent. And when I go to the dentist now, they say, what do you want to watch on TV? Because I've got Netflix while we do your teeth. And I say, Bridgerton. And I could just be there for hours. I don't give a fuck. I'll just keep watching Bridgerton.
I love that dentists have TV now. It changes everything for me.
Yeah, and Netflix. Hello. Yes, please.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of this. So, Leonie, tell us one more time where we can find you and how we can get on your daily and weekly newsletters and everything else that you provide.
Oh, you darling. You can just find me at leoniedawson.com. I have a page called Free Shit, so you can find all the free shit I've ever created because I really like making free shit. My goal getter books for this year are sold out, so you'll have to go on the wait list for next year ones.
Congrats!
It's good fun. You can find my daily-ish, my weekly-ish newsletters. It's good fun. It's all on my website. Go
Your
have
podcast
fun.
is great fun. It's so good to hear you.
That's right. I do that too. Leonie Dawson refused to be categorized. That's what it's called because I just genuinely want to talk about whatever the fuck I want.
Yes, and you get to. So good for you.
I have the best boss in the world.
You do. And luckily you don't have lots of members on a team, so you get to just simply do you.
Yeah, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And nobody can go, Leonie, that doesn't follow the strategic plan that we set up for the business this year. And I go,
That was a well done voice. That was a really well done voice, by the way.
And I know more than you, Leonie, because I've got an MBA, and I'm like, well, I think I'm the one who's actually been successful in business. So let's do what I say. So clearly I'm a really good manager.
Could I just put a little idea there? Because it's something that I would wish to see. Since one of your 21-day challenges is going to be doing like graphics, I would love to see a cartoon. Because now, just from today's conversation, you did multiple voices. And I see each voice having a character and then having like a little TV show thingy going. Just like,
Nice.
2 minutes. But I think that would be really fun. That's just my personal thoughts. You will not do it, but I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, sure. I'll absolutely do what you tell me to do. You also told me to quit Sugar Sora. Fuck you, man.
Totally. I am not a good friend.
I love friends who challenge me. So you're right up my alley. Interestingly, I do, my kids and I read a book called The Bad Guys, and it's an enormous success. Sold millions and millions of copies. But there's a cast of 12 characters in it, and every character has its own voice. And it's now up to book number 15. So I've had to keep this fucking malarkey alive for 15 books with 12 characters.
And you remember each character and their voice?
Yeah, and my kids will go, no, that's not the right voice, Mum. That one sounds a little bit too much like the other one, remember? No, different. So they're a tough crowd.
Wow, I'm impressed with your voices. I cannot wait to come visit, not invited, and ask you to read a book and listen to all of those voices.
You know what I'd really enjoy doing to you? Sometimes, like, because I think this is really funny, but not in pandemic times, right? Is that, like, I don't know, I just find it really funny. If I'm talking to somebody, right, I'll reach in and I'll pat their face, the front of their face, like down their nose and everything. And people are like, did you just pat my face? And I'm like, and did you feel like really uncomfortable because I did? And they're like, yeah. And I don't know, it's just the greatest fun. I know I should, but I just can't stop myself. But not in pandemic times, I don't do it.
Glad you have your boundaries around pandemic times.
Yeah, I know. Like, just like general decorum, like, fuck the decorum. But like pandemic, oh no, I will be health and safety during pandemic times.
Excellent. Well, on that note, I shall pet the screen as if I was doing so onto you. And
like
you shall
more
stop.
though. More though, like,
there we go. There we go.
That feels really intrusive now. That's exactly the energy I'm after.
Yep. And I shall stop the recording so we can just continue giggling after. Thanks,
Love
Leonie.
it, Sora. You're the best.
It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others so we remember we are collectively woven. If you're currently playing with us in our devoted Discord, remember to submit the keyword and complete the other moves to earn points and win amazing prizes. If you're not playing yet, visit devotedway.com/star, STAR, to sign up. If you would like to listen to more Devoted Way podcast episodes, watch Devoted TV, or read about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, or creating a prosperous new world, I invite you to enter our virtual temple home at devotedway.com. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would so appreciate it if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a prosperous new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.